This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, everybody, thank you all for coming. It is September 20th, I believe. I'm sorry, I'm kind of late here, everybody, and I just want to thank you all for coming again. So welcome to this 30-minute meeting here. We do every Wednesday night, and legally we must say that this meeting is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So what you hear tonight is not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure. But that being said, it does take great discipline to change our mindset and the habits that we have already developed. And so just a few tweaks in what we've already learned, and maybe these things will work for you. They've been proven to work for many other people. So we're here to seek true science-based clinical advice on the use of nutrition. And a lot of people do feel better when they follow these protocols. So if you have a desire to make a 90-day change in your lifestyle, you've come to the right place. And Dr. Wallach's research team and the development team have created many great products and an army while raising his children. And so I would like to ask everyone to please mute your phones, be respectful, write down your questions. And after about 15 minutes, we'll have Dr. Wallach, we'll open up the line so Dr. Wallach can answer your questions. Thank you all for coming. Dr. Wallach, the call is yours.
Oh, thank you so much, Pam. Thank you, Dave. And thank you, everybody, for being here. Today, I want to talk about, let's see here. Let's talk about things like bone marrow, and let's talk about what happens when you get joint replacements. What does that do to your bone marrow when you get joint replacements? Okay. Bone marrow does a lot of things. People rarely get to see their bone marrow, but it's very important to life. Okay. Bone marrow, of course, fills the hollow tube of the bones, whether it's the ribs or your leg bones, your arm bones, your vertebrae, your skull, pelvis, all your bones have the stuff called marrow. Back in the old days, people used to make bone broth. They would cook the bones after they ate the meat off. They'd cook the bones and crack the bones open and get the marrow out and eat that cooked marrow. Now that was good because in those old days, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, our fuel was wood and coal. And we would take the wood ashes and coal ashes and put them into the gardens, and you'd get an increase in yield. Instead of getting 3 tomatoes on a vine, you get 6 or 8 or 10. Instead of the tomatoes being the size of a lemon, they'd be the size of an orange. Okay. And so they knew there was something, they didn't know what it was, but they knew there was something in the wood ashes and coal ashes was good. Well, what they did not know was that the plants that were growing in the gardens were sucking up the minerals from the wood ashes and coal ashes. So when you ate the vegetables and the fruit and the berries that were fertilized with wood ashes and coal ashes, you're also getting minerals that way. That went on for thousands of years until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, when Thomas Edison pulled the switch on the first commercial electric generating plant. And then everything changed, went for the negative, because we weren't getting our wood ashes and coal ashes anymore. We weren't getting our minerals, and doctors were saying, oh, just eat well, you get everything you need. Don't waste your money on supplements. That was the death of humanity right there. Okay, don't supplement, just eat well, you get everything you need. No, not even close. In the medical system, people love them and respect them because they were putting together drugs that relieve symptoms like pain and that kind of stuff. And so people said, well, I love my doctor. My doctor said I can get everything I need just by eating well. Well, that's not true, but they still love their doctor because they're getting pain relief. Okay. And then when you look at the bone marrow makes white blood cells, part of your immune system, goes out through your blood and tissues and eats and kills cancer cells and viruses and bugs and parasites, all kinds of stuff. Your bone marrow also makes, let's see here, your bone marrow also makes things like red blood cells, so you can carry oxygen throughout the body. The red blood cells are made by your bone marrow. And then your bone marrow also makes platelets, so you don't bleed to death. So platelets make blood clots when you get a cut or a wound or something like that. And so the bone marrow also makes the antibodies. I mean, the bone marrow is so important to a healthy, long life. Okay, can't avoid that. And once you know these things, you say, oh my gosh, how do I take care of my bone marrow? Well, you take your 90 essential nutrients, just like we give our dogs and cats and canned dog food. And of course, we came up with the Arthrodex to really maximize nutrition for our pets and farm animals and so forth. And then when it comes to, let's see here, the bone marrow, right? And then, of course, we love the idea now that the bone broth is gone. Or the bone broth is gone. Okay, not many people use bone broth anymore, but we do actually take the supplements. And so this is a very beneficial thing. And when you get joint replacements, you get your knees cut out and they put an artificial knee in, you get your hip cut out and they put an artificial hip in, you're losing part of your bone marrow. Okay, you're losing part of your bone marrow and all of the great things it does for you and your health and your longevity and so on. And so give us a try first before you start doing joint replacements. Give us 90 days and we will rebuild your bones. We will rebuild your bone marrow, because once you take the bone out and put an artificial machine in there, which is made out of metal of some kind, you're headed down a spiral downward negative, okay? Because you're losing your ability to make antibodies, you're losing your ability to make red blood cells that carry oxygen, you're losing your ability to make white blood cells, you're losing your ability to make platelets, okay? When you start replacing your bone marrow, okay, with metal. Okay, so this is really a heads up, wake up. And if you do it correctly, you can add 25 to 50 healthy years to your life if you take good care and love your bone marrow. All right, just remember that bone broth and the wood ashes and coal ashes is what brought humanity over 3,000 to 5,000 years to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Monday, September 4th, 1882, and when Thomas Edison pulled the switch in the first commercial electric generating plant. And by 1900, we had 50 new diseases that nobody had ever seen before. These are all just simple nutritional deficiency diseases because we weren't getting wood ashes anymore. And the use of wood ashes went away around the world in about 2 weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time, everybody was suddenly, after 3,000, 5,000 years of using wood and coal ashes as a source of nutritional minerals, suddenly now it all went away in 2 weeks around the world. What a crazy, crazy story, but it's a true story. So this is why, growing up in the farm, I saw that we were giving these calves all these alfalfa pellets, all these vitamins and minerals in it. And I had personal problems. I started eating their food instead of my food, and I got better. And people in school would point and talk and whisper because I was totally different. People at the stores were pointing and whispering. People at the various offices and things, and they're pointing at me and whispering because they knew I was a crazy kid and violent and all that kind of stuff. Suddenly I'm a nice guy and helping people, okay, because I was getting the nutrients by supplementation. And so this is something that's been proven over and over and over and over again. And our part of our job is to get this information out there. And another example, okay, is when doctors said, oh God, cholesterol clogs your arteries, no cholesterol. They actually came up with drugs to kill the cholesterol in your body and so forth. Not good. Well, Alzheimer's disease, MS, multiple sclerosis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is multiple sclerosis, spinal cord, Parkinson's disease, which we have now found the cause, prevention, and cure for. There is a case report at the, let's see here, at the certified health coaches offices, and you can actually get a copy of that case report. Oh, I'm hearing somebody talking or something. What's going on here? There's a lot of buzzing noise. Okay. Is there buzzing noise in the house? Okay, stop it. Okay, and then let's see here. Parkinson's, I should discuss that. FTD, which is the frontal temporal dementia, is kind of a focused area of Alzheimer's disease. CJD, Creutzfeldt-Jacobs disease, the mad cow disease, is a thing which I had. ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And all of these have a deficiency of cholesterol. When you look at them under the microscope, every one of these diseases I just named look the same. The pathology is the same under the microscope. The only difference is location, location, location. By dumb luck, the major damage occurs in different locations of the brain and spinal cord, and that's what gives these different diseases. Okay, now we're talking a lot of money here. Okay, and when you're talking about arthritis, $626.8 billion a year. Okay, you're talking about, let's see here. We're talking about, let's just look at arthritis. We talked about $626.8 billion a year. Osteoporosis, for a combined cost to the United States, Canada, and the European Union, we spend 6.5 trillion. A third of that, 2.3 trillion of it's our expense. So you put the 2.3 trillion for treating the symptoms of osteoporosis, along with this $626.8 billion for treating arthritis. It's $3 trillion we're spending for treating the symptoms of arthritis and osteoporosis, not preventing it or curing it. Okay, and so when you're talking about these things, it's like crazy. Okay, crazy, crazy, crazy. And so this is one of those things where you can actually get rid of these diseases. You can actually save an enormous amount of money, and which is a double goodie. Save an enormous amount of money and get rid of the disease. So I urge everybody to pay attention, and let's save as many as we can. And of course, we'll save a lot of money by doing it. I like the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack. I like the I-26 for the raw materials to rebuild the myelin in the brain and spinal cord to get rid of all these diseases: Alzheimer's disease, MS, Parkinson's disease, Guillain-Barré syndrome, FTD, CJD, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, all of those. Okay, you take the Healthy Brain and Heart Pack and the MSM, the I-26, the Synaptive, and they all go away. Oh yeah, don't forget, you got to eat 3 eggs twice a day, not fried, not hard boiled, but soft scrambled in butter, or soft poached, or soft boiled. Okay, and you will rebuild the raw materials you need to make your brain and spinal cord work, and rebuild all the myelin, the white matter of the brain. Okay, and it's an amazing thing that is so simple. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Dave and Pam. Hello, Dave and Pam.
Okay,
Oh,
can you hear me?
there you are. I hear now.
Okay, so Dr. Wallach, I so appreciate that you do these calls with us. And I know you have so many people that you help. And after a while, it becomes redundant and probably very difficult to try and say the same thing over and over again to people. And sometimes they just, turn a deaf ear to you. And so I so appreciate it. Today, I had to do a computer and a phone and everything like 5 minutes before we got started. So I do have to apologize for that. And your story is, how you started with eating the pellets in the barn. And could you just kind of talk a little bit more about that? Because that's really an amazing story, how you became familiar with reading the labels.
Okay. Well, basically, I was a violent kid between the ages of 5 and 9, and I could, I only weighed like 110 pounds, but I could take down a 200-pound man because I was throwing bales of hay, very strong. I was very disruptive in classes and in church and all this kind of stuff. And people say, "Oh, here comes that Wallach kid." They knew I was disruptive. But after taking these 90 essential nutrients and getting rid of all the bad foods, the fried foods, the processed meats, the oils, the glutens, the wheat, bran, rye, oats, buckwheat, sugar, carbonated drinks, even the diet drinks and carbonated water got to go because they neutralize stomach acids. They can't absorb minerals or digest food. Suddenly now, I was a totally different person. I was a Mr. Nice Guy. And I go to church, and every church, everybody's pointing and whispering and pointing at me because is that the Wallach kid, this disruptive kid? He's like a prince right now. And then, of course, the same thing would happen. We go to the doctor's office, we go to the stores to buy food and stuff. And go to factories and things, which we had to go pick up stuff usually, and I was disruptive and yelling and screaming and pushing people around, physically pushing them around. Now suddenly I'm Mr. Nice Guy. And they just were all shaking their heads saying, is that same Wallach kid? Okay. And so they were noticing. It was very, 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 what should I say, dramatic change in my behavior, because I was getting the alfalfa pellets with the vitamins and minerals added to it. And that's how, instead of eating Wheaties and oatmeal and that kind of stuff, I suddenly was eating the alfalfa pellets with all the vitamins and minerals added to it. And that's what brought me around. I understood exactly what was happening. And I said, uh-oh. And so I began to going to church and going to classes. People are coming to me. So, well, my dad has diabetes. Can you help him? Oh, yeah. Because I'm reading the books now. I'm learning what nutrients are missing when you have diabetes. Oh, my mom has arthritis. They want to do double knee replacement. Can you help her? Oh, yeah, I can rebuild her knees because I'm reading the books again. And so that's where all this came from.
Doc, hi. Thanks, Laura here. Thanks for telling the story. Hi. It's a lovely story, by the way. And I just wanted, but I wanted to ask you, so did you have like a lightning bolt from the sky kind of moment, like an epiphany that led you to think that this was happening because there was something in the food?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sitting on the edge of my bed on a Friday night. My parents are packing my clothes because on Monday they're taking me to this facility, which is really just a jail for crazy kids. Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking, why am I having all these problems and the animals in our farm aren't having the problems? I'm saying, well, they're eating this, and I'm eating that. And so the next morning, on Saturday morning, I ate their pellets with the vitamins minerals added to it with milk instead of my Wheaties and oatmeal. I did the same thing on Sunday morning, did the same thing on Tuesday morning, or excuse me, Monday morning. And by Monday afternoon, I was cured. After 5 years of spiraling downhill and being very dangerous to myself and everybody else. And
Wow.
I was able to make an enormous change in my health, my physical health, my emotional health, my mental health. And it was obvious to everybody. And so I said, uh-oh, I've got to make sure that everybody knows this. Everybody has to do everything correctly. And we can save humanity. We can save the world by giving them this information. So that's how it all started. It was a 2.5 day event.
That's amazing. That's fantastic. Did you just eat that for the most part of those 2 days, or did
No,
you?
well, I eat meat. I eat meat, for lunch and dinner.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't eat the cereals. I didn't eat bread. I didn't have anything with those grains in it of any kind. All right. And so that's where it all happened. I was eating alfalfa with the vitamins and minerals added to it instead of wheat, bran, or oats.
Wow, that's amazing. So you turned a personal tragedy into an amazing discovery for the rest of the world. Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, I'll give the good
Thanks.
Lord all the credits. We'll give the good Lord all the credit. And it's one of those things where I don't know why I was chosen, but obviously I think I was chosen because, no kid in that kind of trouble is going to figure this out by himself. So I'll accept all the help that I got from other people around me as well as the good Lord.
Yeah, well, amen to that. That's awesome. Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
answering
you.
that. Yeah.
And thank you
Pam.
again. Thank you again, Dr. Wallach. And so if you could elaborate a little bit on the fact that you started reading the books and you said that. So I have some friend over here that he was taking his wife to dialysis for several years. And all of a sudden we had a conversation about needing to use the restrooms, more often and less often. And his son is, going to be working at one of the hospitals. And so he had one of them hospital books, a doctor book, and he started reading up about kidneys. And can you just elaborate a little bit on kidneys and function?
Okay. Well, the purpose of the kidneys is to filter your blood. Okay. Get all the bad stuff out and urinate out all the bad stuff and put the blood back in your bloodstream. It also makes hormones and all kinds of other things going on there. And if the kidneys feel they're not getting enough blood to do its work, they'll put out a hormone that raises your blood pressure. So when you have high blood pressure, oftentimes it's the kidneys' hormones that they're sending out to get the blood pressure up to force more blood through the kidneys. Okay, that's why it likes to raise the blood pressure, to get more blood going through the kidneys so we can filter more blood. And this is why we came up with the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets. Okay, instead of letting the kidney make all these hormones and everything, we came up with the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets to increase the blood flow through the kidneys. And so, I take people that haven't urinated in 10 years. They have not urinated in 10 years, but they're on dialysis 6 days a week. Okay, and we get them in our program. And so suddenly now they start urinating in 2 or 3 days. Okay, and we take them from dialysis 6 days a week to dialysis 3 days a week. And then after 2 more weeks, they're totally off of dialysis. They go back to a normal life, but they have to take the 90 cents of nutrients, but they were on dialysis for 25 years, and dialysis 6 days a week for 10 years. And we got rid of all that by getting on all these nutrients and get rid of all the bad foods to maximize absorption. And we do this literally hundreds of times a month around the world. We're in 80 countries. And blood pressure, kidney issues, dialysis. This is very, very, very common stuff. And of course, this was a milking machine for the medical profession.
Oh, we're very grateful that, yes, we're very, very grateful that you have exposed all of this information. And he also mentioned about how it showed in this book, how it expanded like a balloon, and then it went down, and shriveled up. And he was amazed to see that, 80 years old and explaining this to me. And so I just wanted you to just elaborate a little bit on that. So you said about it, if you don't have proper blood flow, it causes the blood pressure to go out of balance.
Yeah, the kidney wants the blood flow. So if it's not getting the blood flow to make it happy, it releases a hormone, makes the blood pressure go up to force more blood through the kidneys.
So that's a second medication that they would want to put someone on unless they were able to have the 90 plus the Ultimate Daily Classic tablets.
So the doctors didn't make the connection between the kidneys and the blood pressure. Okay, they didn't make any connection there. Okay, they were just treating somebody with dialysis if they weren't urinating, weren't getting enough filtration, enough urine production, that kind of stuff. And of course, they looked at the blood pressure issue as a separate issue. They didn't know they were connected. Okay, and so this is where my background came along, and I started studying pathology. My thesis, which represents 20,000 autopsies, is from NIH. Big. The initial payment was $7.5 million. I think it totaled after 10 years. Excuse me, 20 years. After 10 years. After 10 years, it got up to close to $20 million. Okay, and so this I'm a kid. I'm in my 20s. Okay, and so this is something that doing all these autopsies and finding out the actual causes of these diseases instead of just treating the symptoms. That's what made medical doctors so, what should I say, important to people. Oh, I have this terrible pain in my joints. Oh, here's cortisone. Pain goes away. I love my doctor. Made my pain go away from my joints, but the joint is still getting worse. But the pain's going away because they're taking cortisone. Okay, and so I'm realizing all this, doing all these autopsies in animals and people and so forth. And the thesis sells yet today for $25,000 to $35,000 each, mostly only medical schools and pharmacy schools and big companies can afford to buy them. So we came up with a, let's see here, this is a, what should I say, it's a
summary.
Yeah, there you go. It's a summary of the big thing that I did with the 20,000 autopsies. This is a summary of that $25,000 thesis. This only is 25, but $25, not 25,000. Okay, but it gives you all the information that's in the big one. Okay.
Hey, Doc.
So you can get the information without having to spend $25,000.
So, Doc, the part of that story that a lot of people don't really grasp, because it's not spoken enough about, I don't think, I try to tell everybody, is the fact that when you did those when that farmer or that rancher brought in those 50 dead lambs and you did all those autopsies and you wrote the paper about the first mass die-off, what caused it and why, and then you turned that in, it got published. And while you were in Africa, Marlon Perkins read that and he turned it into the NIH and got that $25 million grant because of the paper you wrote as a kid. And
That's
then
right.
after your 20,500 autopsies, you wrote your thesis, and the University of Missouri sold the rights to it to the largest medical textbook publishing company in the world, and they edited it down to 1,200 pages without
W.B. Saunders. W.B. Saunders is that publishing company. W.B. Saunders.
Right, without losing any content, you said, and they printed 90,000 copies of it and sold them all in 30 days for $25,000 each. That is, I mean, when you put that whole story together, that just blows me away. And when I tell people, they're like, wow. No, I mean, it blows them away. Where do I get a copy of that, you know? Well, you don't got to spend $25,000. You can get a summary of it for $25.
There you go.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, well,
You
thanks
are
for sharing
one
that story.
man.
Well,
Thank you.
I've been blessed. With, I believe, guidance from above. We'll give the good Lord all the credit, and we're the instruments. And just think of how many people we've saved because so many people took this message out there, out to the streets, and make sure that people got the information. We made all these various products. We have 3,000 products at YOUNGEVITY. We deal with 600 different diseases, and we're negotiating with a couple of other, what should I say, institutions. One has 35 other countries we're trying to get involved with us, and another one we're dealing with. That one, let's see here, is because it has, again, so many people involved around the world, and we're working with them to get them involved with us too.
That's very exciting. I can't wait for that fruition to take place.
Yeah, we don't know which one's going to happen first. It could be tomorrow, it could be a month from now, it could be a year from now, but it's happening.
Awesome. Yep, things are happening. We do appreciate you, Doc, and you know, we've all been blessed by you because you've been blessed by the Lord, and he definitely had his hand on your shoulder and guided you to those calf pellets.
Yeah.
Thank your dad. Thank you to your dad for doing that, for raising those calves and you know, grinding up all that alfalfa and bringing in the company to make the pellets and add the minerals.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank you,
Wade,
Doc.
say
Bye,
goodbye,
bye,
Dr.
let's thank
Wallach.
some people.
Goodbye, Dr.
Bye-bye. Love you
Bye.
guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
It's
girls.
over.
Bye, Leroy.
Bye.